Welcome to LSB Feaster's Radio Air Check and Classic TV channel.
WDAF, 61 country.
First time now to check our traffic at 21 minutes until 6. John Wagner is here with that. John Boy?
Well, I don't know precisely where you live, Phil, but if you got some neighbors that are home, I think I'd call them and find out what it is that's arcing on top of the roofs of those apartments. They got fire department all over the place over there.
What is it, 79th and Schweitzer?
Well, 77th, 79th.
No, that's south of me. I live a little north of 75th Street.
Okay. I'm just trying to set your day for you.
Good.
All right, folks going home, ain't this a killer? Oh, man, I just got behind some guy with a pickup truck. Now, I hope he's drunk, because if he isn't, this guy is ill. I mean, real ill. This guy's going 47th Street now, eastbound from Pittman Road. And he's got one of those pickup trucks with a camper shell on the back, and the left side of it and the bottom it says, Bassmaster. I'm sure he wouldn't know a fish if it bit him. Anyhow, boy, this is a real turkey. He was on 40 Highway, then he switched over to 47, so somewhere out there by Sterling on over to Blue Ridge. Watch it. All right, traffic on the freeway, slow, draggy, a real pain in the you-know-what. So it's just slow and draggy. We've quit having accidents, mainly because traffic can't move that fast. And all it is just wet. What the hey? Enjoy your run. John Wagner, Skies Pine, 61 Country.
Dan Henry is here with our 61 Country weather now, Dan Boy.
Yes, sir.
So tell me, is it going to drizzle, what, until maybe 10:14?
Oh, maybe 10:13:30.
All right, good.
And then it's going to quit.
Yeah.
And the clouds will remain. And south of us, they'll have some fog. Could reach the Kansas City region overnight. But anyway, toward morning, we're going to see some clearing begin.
Good.
The overnight low will stay above the freezing point. That's also a good.
Mm-hmm.
35 degrees for the low. Then tomorrow, mostly sunny and 55, which is pretty close to normal for this time of year.
All right.
And some light northwest breezes. Tomorrow night, clear and 30. Saturday, 58 and sunny. And we're looking at 60s on Sunday and sunny.
You know, there's nothing like exceeding normal on the weekends.
I agree with that.
I like that, and I like it a lot.
You bet.
You know, today, being the 8th of November, is the 30th anniversary of John F. Kennedy being elected president of the country. Defeated Richard Nixon on this day in 1960. And this is a big day in the world of art because 197 years ago today, on the 8th of November, in 1793, they opened up the Louvre Museum in Paris. And began taking a major amount of francs from people for admission.
For the old Louvre.
That's right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Now it's 42 degrees on Signal Hill. It's 61 Country.
The closer you get, the further I fall. The closer you get, the further I fall.
Hi, this is Randy Owen with the group Alabama, and you've got it cranking on Kansas City's official country music station, WDAF, 61 Country.
Our car just turned 80,000 miles. We've got to stay in the state. When it gets right down to love.
They're making it in the shade, Lee Greenwood at 61 Country. And Phil Young, always with the best country music, and you know you can always count on that. Like this one, such a big hit song from earlier this year for Vince Gill and Patty Loveless at 61 Country.
I rushed home from work like I always do. Nobody answered when I call your name.
61 Country, Vince Gill and Patty Loveless, when I call your name. Now, if you'd like to be thinking about our next contest question and its associated answer, here's what it is. In a few minutes, you'll have to call on this, but not quite yet. I'll have you try to tell me what has put a lot of money in the pockets of a man named Xavier Roberts. And when you think about this, think about Christmas presents. And big, very popular Christmas presents. This was just a few years ago. It put a lot of money in the pockets of Xavier Roberts. If you know that shortly, you can be our next winner. Now we have the top news stories at 7 minutes till 6. And with that, 61 Country's Frank Haynes.
A Clay County grand jury indicts a Kansas City police officer with involuntary manslaughter.
2 men charged with murdering an Overland Park man. Kansas City Council passes an ordinance banning discrimination against people who are infected with the AIDS virus. WDAF News next.
There's something you may not know.
Offered by Prime Health Kansas City Incorporated, a member of the Humana family of health plan companies.
Much better weather for the weekend. I'm Dan Henry in the WDAF TV Weather Center, and I'll be back in a moment with the Channel 4 forecast for 61 country.
61 Country. WDAF. Mid-America's news leader. Keeping you informed. Now, with the latest update, here's 61 Country's Frank Haynes.
42 degrees on Signal Hill at 5:56. The top story this hour, a Clay County grand jury today indicted Kansas City police officer Stephen Stock with involuntary manslaughter. Stock shot and killed stockbroker Terry Barnes in Kansas City North on October 27th. Officer Stock has been suspended without pay while the internal investigation continues. 2 men were charged in Harrisonville, Missouri today with the murder of 48-year-old Joe Sustak of Overland Park. The 2 are identified as 20-year-old James G. of Overland Park and 19-year-old Kurt Lowther of Raymore. The men are charged with first-degree murder, robbery, and armed criminal action. G. and Lowther still are in jail in Johnson County, Kansas at Olathe with bond at $500,000 each. Authorities think Sustak was killed in Cass County, Missouri, and then his body moved to rural Miami County, Kansas. The 2 men were arrested this week and took police to the body. Sustak had been missing for several days after he told his family he was going to talk to some people about selling a car. The Kansas City Council today passed an ordinance that bans discrimination against people who are infected with the HIV or AIDS virus. It also applies to tuberculosis. It's not a blanket protection. Exempted are those people who have the disease and prepare or distribute food, along with those who are a direct threat to others. The ordinance passed 9-2. Councilman Chuck Weber and Bob Llewellyn voted no. Mayor Richard Berkeley and Councilman Mark Bryant were not at the meeting to vote. The penalty for violation in municipal court is a fine of $500 or 6 months in jail. The chamber was nearly filled with those who favored and those who opposed the ordinance. Again, it passed 9-2. President Bush said today more troops will head to the Persian Gulf. Here's David Ensor.
Pentagon sources say, in addition to ordering more than 2 Army divisions from Germany to the Persian Gulf, the president has also decided to send 3 more aircraft carriers, bringing to 6 the number stationed in the region. Sources also say the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Brigade, based in the U.S., will be sent as well. Officials say at least 40,000 soldiers will be sent from Germany alone. The size and scope of the deployments are clearly designed to show Saddam Hussein that the U.S. and its allies are prepared to force his troops out of Kuwait, if it comes to that. David Ensor, ABC News, the Pentagon.
On the business beat, the stock market went higher today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up about 3 points to 2,443.81. The dollar was up against other key currencies in New York today. British Petroleum and Royal Dutch Shell Group are reporting dramatically higher third-quarter profits after riding a sharp rise in crude oil prices prompted by the Persian Gulf crisis. Upjohn is receiving clearance from the Food and Drug Administration to market Xanax tablets for the treatment of panic disorder. The pharmaceutical company explains that the drug will be the first medication in the U.S. indicated for the disease, although Xanax has been sold here since 1981 for related psychiatric ailments. WDAF News Time, 5:59. Weather coming up.
WDAF News is brought to you by the Merchant of Truth, Stadium Honda.
Prices and date may vary in Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico.
Off and on light rain or drizzle in the evening hours in Kansas City, but drying up and staying cloudy most of the night, then clearing skies toward morning. 35 degrees will be the low. Friday, a mostly sunny day, light north breezes and 55 degrees. Friday night and Saturday, mostly clear with Friday night's low 30 and Saturday's high 58, warming to the 60s through the weekend. I'm Dan Henry in the WDAF TV Weather Center, and that's the Channel 4 forecast for 61 country.
Topeka, 44 degrees, at Columbia, 46, International Airport, 42, and at 6:01, 42 degrees on Signal Hill at 61 country. The hour's top story, a Clay County grand jury today indicted Kansas City police officer Stephen Stock with involuntary manslaughter. It's for the shooting death of stockbroker Terry Barnes on October 27th. And 20-year-old James G. of Overland Park and 19-year-old Kurt Lowther of Raymore today were charged with the first-degree murder of Joe Sustak of Overland Park.
That's news and weather. Frank Haynes, WDAF.
Kansas City is 61 country with the Sun, Sand, and Opryland contest. Great trips to Nashville and the Caribbean. And one of the trips for two to Music City goes tomorrow afternoon.
I woke up screaming this morning.
Yeah, Steve Warrener and Linda at 61 Country, where it's 5 minutes after 6. Before we get the contest question going, let's check on our 61 Country continuing Sky Spy traffic. Mike Hake has that. Mike?
Well, we continue to have all kinds of problems out there on the roadways this afternoon and this evening. 39th and Gillum, an accident with injuries at that location. Police and emergency personnel on the scene. Non-injury accident, 31st and Broadway. Eastbound 95th west of Monrovia, non-injury accident over in Johnson County. And about 77th and Schweitzer, a building fire should just about be out at that location. They have shut it down a little bit, and if you're driving on I-35, that's what you saw with all the flashing lights and flames coming from that direction. 61 Country continuing Sky Spy traffic brought to you by ADT Home Security. Over the last 4 years, 1 in 4 American homes fell victim to crime. Protecting your house with an ADT security system makes it 16 times less likely to be violated. Call ADT today for a free home security analysis at 842-HOME. That's 842-HOME. This is Mike Hake with continuing Sky Spy traffic on 61 Country.
All right, thanks, Mike. If you want to call now with the answer to this contest question, 576-7000, tell me what put a lot of money in the pockets of a man named Xavier Roberts. Call me now and good luck.
Hi there. What line of work are you in? Only on KZKC, Channel 62, Kansas City's movie station.
Our contest winner, Rodney LaFollette from Olathe, is in the drawing for all the Sun, Sand, and Opryland trips, including the one to Nashville that we give away tomorrow afternoon. He also gets a pair of tickets to see the American Royal Rodeo tomorrow night. Wild Rose will perform after the rodeo, which starts tomorrow evening at Kemper at 7:30. And the question was, what put so much money, so much long green cash into the pockets of a man named Xavier Roberts? You know, Xavier Roberts' name is on the rear end of every one of these, too. Cabbage Patch Dolls. What year was that? About 82, 83? Man, 83 is my guess. Cabbage Patch Dolls were so popular, and the guy was so much of a genius that he put just a little less of the number of Cabbage Patch Dolls in the stores than there was demand for. So then people were black marketing them. You remember that? Somebody sold me one, I think, for $50. Well, it's 6:09 at 61 Country with George Strait.
I got sent home from school one day with a shiner on my eye. It's a love without end, amen.
Great song, George Strait at 61 Country with a love without end, amen. This man was at the Royal yesterday. Here is Garth Brooks.
Just the other night, at a hometown football game, some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers.
61 Country with Garth Brooks and Foster and Lloyd.
Down to the shop, guy says there ain't no warranty. I got to take a cab to work, and it cost me $25. $25.
Long cab ride. That's Foster and Lloyd. It's almost 6:20 at 61 Country, where the Dan Henry weather says we may be in for some of this drizzle pretty much through the evening tonight. But then, as the night gets pretty late, maybe 11, 12 o'clock, the drizzle will quit. It'll clear up, and it's going to stay mostly clear probably just about all the way through the weekend. The high tomorrow is going to be 55. Beautiful day. Saturday, even better. Mostly clear and 58. Sunday, probably even better than that. If you got tickets for the Chiefs game, we're really looking good on that. Could be in the low 60s and sunny on Sunday. Now, though, it's only 42 degrees on Signal Hill at 61 Country. Forrester Sisters here at 61 Country. On the way, we have Alabama. We have Randy Travis coming up. Dwight Yoakam also with his latest. Now we'll check the top news stories at 6:22. And with that, 61 Country's Frank Haynes.
Kansas City police officer indicted on involuntary manslaughter. 2 men charged with the murder of an Overland Park man. The president says more troops will be heading to the Persian Gulf. WDAF News next.
Veterans Day, where Kansas City shops for boots. Steve
shoes.
Much better weather for the weekend. I'm Dan Henry in the WDAF TV Weather Center, and I'll be back in a moment with the Channel 4 forecast for 61 countries.
61 Country, WDAF, Mid-America's news leader, keeping you informed. Now, with the latest update, here's 61 Country's Frank Haynes.
Now 42 degrees on Signal Hill at 624. The top story this hour. A Clay County grand jury today indicted Kansas City police officer Stephen Stock with involuntary manslaughter. The 33-year-old Stock shot and killed stockbroker Terry Barnes inside Barnes' apartment in Kansas City North on October 27. Stock has been suspended from the department without pay while the investigations go on. Two suspects were charged in Harrisonville, Missouri today with the murder of 48-year-old Joe Sustak of Overland Park. The two are identified as 20-year-old James G. of Overland Park and 19-year-old Kurt Lowther of Raymore. Both men are charged with first-degree murder, robbery, and armed criminal action. G. and Lowther still are in jail in Johnson County, Kansas, and Olathe, bond set at $500,000 each. The body of Sustak was found in a rural Miami County, Kansas field near 255th and Metcalf this week. WDAF News Time is now 6:25. The Kansas City Council today passed an ordinance that bans discrimination against people who are infected with the HIV or AIDS virus. It also applies to tuberculosis. It's not a blanket protection. Exempted are those people who had the diseases and prepare or distribute food, along with those who are a direct threat to others. The ordinance passed 9-2. Councilman Chuck Weber and Bob Llewellyn voted no. Mayor Richard Berkeley and Councilman Mark Bryant were not at the meeting to vote. The penalty for violation of the ordinance in municipal court is a fine of $500 or 6 months in jail. The chamber was nearly filled with those who favored and those who opposed the ordinance. Again, it passed today 9-2. President Bush said today more troops will head to the Persian Gulf. The president says he wants to be sure an adequate force is in place if military action against Iraq is necessary. Defense Secretary Dick Cheney says the deployment will involve all 15,000 members of the Army's 1st Infantry Division from Fort Riley. Combat units of the National Guard will be called from at least Georgia, Mississippi, and Louisiana. On Wall Street today, again, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose nearly 3 points in moderate trading. Senator Alan Cranston of California said today he won't seek re-election in 1992 because he has cancer of the prostate. The 76-year-old Cranston says doctors tell him the cancer is apparently totally curable. Cranston was first elected to the Senate in 1968. A Georgia man charged in the mail bomb deaths of a federal judge and a civil rights lawyer is refusing to enter a plea. Walter Leroy Moody, Jr., has put off the plea until his lawyers file a motion to bar all federal judges in the country from hearing his case. WDAF News Time is now 6:26. Weather's coming up.
This is the Smasher from John Cheesick Honda, 39th and North Oak, Kansas City North.
Off and on light rain or drizzle in the evening hours in Kansas City, but drying up and staying cloudy most of the night, then clearing skies toward morning. 35 degrees will be the low. Friday, a mostly sunny day, light north breezes and 55 degrees. Friday night and Saturday, mostly clear, with Friday night's low 30 and Saturday's high 58, warming to the 60s through the weekend. I'm Dan Henry in the WDAF TV Weather Center, and that's the Channel 4 forecast for 61 country.
At Topeka, 44 degrees, Columbia, 43, International Airport, 42, at 628, 42 degrees on Signal Hill at 61 country. The hour's top story. Two men were charged in Harrisonville, Missouri today with the murder of 48-year-old Joe Sustak of Overland Park. The two are identified as 20-year-old James G. of Overland Park and 19-year-old Kurt Lowther of Raymore. That's news and weather. Frank Haynes, WDAF.
From Signal Hill in the heart of Kansas City, you got it cranking on the best country. WDAF 61 Country.
Hi, friends, this is Charlie Pride, reminding you that Kansas City's best country music is right here with me on WDAF 61 Country.
I'll admit I could feel it.
61 Country with Alabama and their latest from the album Pass It On Down. Forever is as far as I'll go. Can't do any more than that. It's about 25 till 7 at 61 Country with a great one from Holly Dunn. Here's Daddy's Hands.
I remember Daddy's hands folded silently in prayer.
Holly Dunn with Daddy's Hands at 23 minutes until 7. Our 61 Country continuing Sky Spy traffic check is up now. And Mike Hake is here again with that. Mike?
Well, we continue to have problems making your way around Kansas City right now. 55th and Paseo, non-injury hit-and-run accident at that location. Front and Kansas, a non-injury accident. Southbound from West Penway, actually to I-35, we have report of an accident with injuries, as well as one southbound I-35 at 20th. Traffic crews on the scene at that location. 51st and Blue Ridge Boulevard, a non-injury accident. An accident with injuries at 103rd and Flum, and a non-injury at 43rd and Main. Just some of the ones that we've had come in recently. 61 Country continuing Sky Spy traffic brought to you by the EBE Fax Group. We'll beat your best deal guaranteed on any new 90 or 91 Jeep or Eagle at Crawford's Raytown Jeep Eagle. Get big savings on Comanches, Pioneers, and Summits. All 90, 91 Grand Wagoneers and 90 Jeep Cherokees are priced way below cost at Crawford's Raytown Jeep Eagle, where we won't be undersold. This is Mike Hake with continuing Sky Spy traffic on 61 Country.
That was kind of psychedelic. Now, if you've never won a contest before from 61 Country, 576-7000. If no one in your family has ever been lucky enough to win before, all you have to tell me at that number is the name of the musical group that is tonight's entertainer at the American Royal. 576-7000. Call me now at 61 Country.
61 Country and American Airlines are going to send you to enjoy sun and sand or Opryland. We've got trips for two to the Caribbean and trips for two to Nashville, Tennessee. Spend your dream vacation in Music City, USA at the spectacular Opryland Hotel Complex, a world-class hotel featuring exciting restaurants, the awesome conservatory, and the pick-and parlor. Or spend your dream vacation basking in the sun on the shores of the azure blue Caribbean. American Airlines has just added 3 daily nonstops to their hub in Nashville with easy connections on American Airlines to Florida and the Caribbean, or to Washington, New York, Boston, and cities throughout the Northeast. The Sun, Sand, and Opryland contest. It's your ticket to the most exciting vacation of your life, and your chance to get registered is coming up soon from American Airlines. Something special in the air, and the best country, WDAF, 61 Country.